Yo, 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 what it do? I'm here with my homie P, Mr.
Right.
West Ashley on Twitter. Um, Bro, first and foremost, thank you for being here.
No problem, dog.
Um, you
Thanks for
know,
having me.
uh, honest mind, bro. Honestly, your channel for anybody who is into this thing, he has his YouTube channel, Mr. West Ashley, and well, the main thing he does is he goes deep into just anything and everything you can think of, from the political to the theological to the philosophical things of what we know in life, right? And that's why I brought him on here because you know he, I I realized the last time I was on his show, he asked me some questions pertaining to if you read the description to the movies Man of Steel, BVS, and at that time that was the only movies we had. And you know, as I was watching his channel, I realized he was breaking some things down that at the time I was kind of like, man, that's crazy. I hadn't seen it from that perspective. I also think that's because even in life, I just wasn't, in my own personal life, I wasn't there yet, right? Like in the sense of what I'm paying attention to now, right? Um, Now I feel like, because I am there, where I'm like paying attention to what's happening uh, politically, culturally. I'm more aware to what I'm seeing on these in these movies from the same, I believe, the same angle you were seeing, that you were trying to put
Mhm.
people on game with, you know. Um, and now I'm starting to see these things like that I didn't see before, you know. Uh, you know, and and I guess to just to nip this in the butt already, just going into this thing
Head first.
head first, and that's is is Zack Snyder, is he a Mason?
Mm. I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I never talked to him like that.
Right, right, right.
But I mean, just from the symbolism of the shit that he puts around his life, like his movies and
Mhm.
Stone Quarry and,
I think
the
that's the big one right there.
right,
I
because
feel like that's the biggest tell.
that's right. But it should be the biggest tale. But I think, see, people kind of scared of just the word Mason. People kind of
Right.
scared of just even going down that route. So it's like when you know something, but you don't want to admit it to yourself. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
But it's not that bad. But I think, I don't know, man. It's like, yes, it's obvious these Hollywood people, to get that level of, putting a fucking movie out with your ideologies, your propaganda, whatever,
Right.
teamed up with Superman, Batman characters, to
Right.
do that level. The studios, the financial backers, everyone has to know that you won't say some fuck shit. They have to know you won't go off
Yeah.
script.
You,
So, all right, go ahead. My bad.
so no, no, you're good. So here's what I feel I'm gathering from this, right? Like, well, first, okay, let's just go on record and say we're not saying to be a Freemason is a bad it
Right,
doesn't have
right,
to be a bad thing.
right,
I personally know certain people in my life that I've come across that are Masons, and they're good people,
right,
you
correct.
know. I remember one time I was working at UPS. This is like, I was like 20, 21, and this is around the time where uh I I, I guess you could say I kind of started like uh my journey into, to getting closer to God.
Hmm.
Some life altering things started happening with me around that time, where it was like my perspective on things kind of started changing. I was trying to seek out God, and what started with me going to work every day high and just uh,
Hmm.
now I'm coming into work with a Bible, right? And then a lot of people were
Hmm.
questioning it. But whole point is, there was this man. Uh, this big who's that actor from The Green Mile? That big dude.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Dude, I swear, like an exact replica of that dude. An exact replica of him. He was a
Yeah,
Union
word.
steward there, and he had this ring. It was a Mason ring, and I peeped it. I saw the symbol, right? Very similar to the stone quarry symbol, right? But anyways, he had this symbol, right? And here I am. I'm coming in, or no, I think we were barely leaving. Is what it is. We were finishing the shift. We were all leaving to the guard shack, and we're all taking our stuff, to go into the metal detector. And he peeps my Bible, and he looks at it, and he's like, he had a stern, he had the same stern voice too, like, oh, that's a good book.
Right,
it's a good
right,
book,
right.
And I'm like, yeah, it is, and he's like, and he asked me a question about the beginning of creation, right? And how the center of the earth is in Africa and blah blah blah, which, if anyone knows, the reason that that idea exists is because of the rivers that are spoken on in the book of Genesis, the Euphrates and the Nile River. I'm like, yeah, you could definitely make that point, and he's like, and then he gave me this look, like he was like impressed, and he's like, I can teach you a few more things, if you're really interested. At that moment, I kind of perceived what he was referring to. I really feel like he was trying to enlighten me on this whole Messianic thing. And I have to stress that again. This guy was actually a good guy. He was very stern, educated. There was a way about him that sets him apart from other people. You feel me? And this is what I want to stress is like, so being Messianic is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a society of people that think in terms of, I guess, enlightenment, building, growth, and they're a very tight club as far as I guess, if you're in the inn, you're in, you know what I mean?
Right.
But anyways, that's just me putting my 2 cents to that.
Right.
Now, do you feel, this is something I came across in my thought of watching these movies, the question always came to me, like, trying to understand why what happened to Zack, right? As far as like, why didn't they want him to put out these movies? What was I guess the issue, right? And this is my newest epiphany as I'm engaging in his films and what I feel they are representing symbolically. And I felt like this opposes and exposes everything that is happening now, politically, culturally, and against the agenda to what we are seeing overall in Hollywood. That is my theory. I don't know if you can agree with that. If do you think it's similar to that?
Yeah, it's something similar. Zack Snyder, he always got like bad press because just from what I was seeing in his movies, he was exposing something, like in The Watchmen, he made what's his name? Ozymandias. He was the bad guy. But if like Masonic symbolism, he was obviously showing you all the Egyptian cult stuff in there. He was putting the Mason shit front and center, so you couldn't miss it. But then, like, he showed how they work behind the scenes, how they, they're not all good. They're not always doing something, good. Even though overall he might have had a great plan to stop all the wars and shit like that. And they some of them, they think they do have.
Right.
Like, a lot of people think this new world order where it's supposed to be from America going #1 country in the world to now America going 2 or 3 as China and Russia moves up. That's all the new world order is. It's more like financial, countries exchanging orders. But to do that, everyone has to be in line, like it has to be from the media to the politicians to the actors, the rappers, celebrities, directors. All of them have to be saying the same exact thing. And
right.
that's the only way it could happen, because the people have to allow it to happen. Like the people, let's say when they were doing the 15-day lockdown of the the virus, and everyone had to go inside and stuff like that. That started out with with the celebrities, like what's it? Tom Hanks was the first guy who got it, and then him and his wife was on and was like, everybody needs to get their shot, and we got 15 days to slow the spread, And then that's because Tom Hanks has a big following. He has millions of people that follow him. So you get hit with Tom Hanks propaganda in one ear, and then you turn on the media, turn on the news that same day, and the news, Anderson Cooper is saying the same thing Tom Hanks said. So these millions of people watching Tom Hanks and CNN at the same time are both getting beat with 15 days to slow the spread, go get the vaccine. They're both, so now the people are like, oh man. So then you get a director who makes a movie or a TV show or anything like that, and they say the same thing Tom Hanks and Anderson Cooper just said. And then you watch the NFL and they're saying the same thing. Oh, quarterbacks better get their shot, because if they get out, they're gonna be like Cam Newton, or something like that. It's everyone, right? It's everyone at one time saying the same thing.
Right. Right. No, so okay, so to piggyback on that right quick, right? Now, this is where I feel like if you're paying attention, you can separate who's on board and who's not. You know what I mean? And this is kind of what, and I guess this is, maybe I'm wrong here. This is kind of how I perceive it, but I don't, if anyone knows anything about, like, secret societies, right? As far as, the biggest one that's always been talked about, that do they exist? Do they not exist? So, the big one is Illuminati, right?
Illuminati, right?
So it's not as, and I say this because I want to stress that, the one thing that I feel the Masons do have to their favor is there's nothing secret about them.
Right.
They're on Front Street. You know what I mean? Right. Compared to secret societies such as Illuminati.
Right. So many others.
And so many others.
Right.
I'm just naming the biggest one that everyone always talks about.
Right. Correct.
Just so that you understand the difference between a secret society and a society. Now there is lore, right, that exists, that the Illuminati kind of broke off from the Masons, right? Or more so that they were a cult that existed prior to, but that in a certain era, I can't remember when, they were being hunted down, and they decided to infiltrate and hide themselves within
Masonry.
Yeah, in Masonry. Or even some within the Catholic Church.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they infiltrate these things, right? And so when I think New World Order, I'm not necessarily thinking Mason. I'm thinking more of the powers that be behind the scenes.
Right.
That we, as you said, you see this universal language between all these different institutions, right? Between athletes, actors, politicians, corporations, and things of that sort, right? So here's I guess I guess the question is and you actually, let me say this, because you brought this up too, and I feel this is important to note, and that's that if you feel that America is no longer number one, you are correct.
It's changing.
It's changing. It's shifted.
Right.
And if you think that there's this utopian I guess, finish line for us all.
Mm-hmm.
Don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself.
Right.
I do find it interesting, as you said. Hold on. I think we are okay. You know what? No, we went there, so let's stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
We you bring up China, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel it's strange, right? Not strange. If you've been paying attention, you know this to be true. And here's the funny part: as much as much as everybody hated Trump, this dude said it as it was. It's China, right?
He knew what he was doing.
He knew what he
Yeah.
was doing.
Yeah.
And, and then even within the running for presidency, there's you started getting the leaks of Biden's Hunter Biden being in cahoots with China.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like since the beginning of this guy's presidency,
Mm-hmm.
everything that's been toppling over as a domino effect connects to China.
Mm-hmm.
From the pandemic to even the pullout out of Afghanistan to there was like another one that came to my mind. But the whole point is when you're looking at these, kind of the who's benefiting from or who benefits, I guess, from the covering up of
Mm-hmm.
how this virus came to be. China.
Mm-hmm.
Who benefits from the pulling out of Afghanistan and the minerals that we were acquiring there, and amongst the allies that were there? China
and Russia.
And Russia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like nobody's like got red flags about this.
No, check it out. It's deeper than that. Like, we talk about Zack, but look what Christopher Nolan did with his trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
He said in Batman Begins, there was some crew called the League of Shadows that was coming from China, coming from the East.
From the East, yeah.
And they were assassins that were coming to blend in the West and take down the West.
Wow. Yeah.
Part two, the one with Heath Ledger.
Right, Dark Knight.
They were trying to turn the people against each other. Like, remember on the boat, one group was supposed to blow up one boat.
Yes.
He was causing havoc in the city. Basically, what was going on in America with all the riots and blah, blah, blah. Then the next, you got Bane that shows up to continue the League of Shadow ship. Right. What Bane wanted to do is turn the people against the police, which you see going on right now. Let the prisoners out of jail, which you see going on right now. Everyone in that same groupthink is talking about prison reform. Everybody's saying it. It's the same shit Bane did. It's the same shit Bane did. But what did they want to do? They wanted to stop Bruce Wayne because Bruce Wayne had a free energy device. Basically, a free energy device would boost America. It would make America, from Wayne Enterprises, from the corporate standpoint, we would be great, because we got free energy now. Batman just saved the whole planet. But no, they were gonna blow the shit up and blow up America.
Right.
And kill the chances of us having free energy, because they also killed the scientist who was about to make it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you got the same exact shit going on in America, because they didn't want America to be great. I guess make America great. You see, in America, in real life, that was a bad thing to say. Like, why, dog, we live in America. Why would you not want America to be great?
Okay. Right. Perfect segue to my overall, I guess, perspective on what I am now seeing when I'm seeing now getting Man of Steel, BVS, and this is what I'm getting from it. Like, and I never used to see it like this before, because I guess I was more so focused on just the theological symbolism, right? But now that I'm like more aware of, I guess, the political climate now, right? I just started seeing this from another perspective, and again, I don't know if this was intended by Zack, but I feel like it was, and I feel that this is why they took the rug from up under him, because they didn't want this message getting out there.
Mm.
Now we know he was doing a Superman story arc, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those who do not know what Superman stands for, and it's funny because he was touching on this so lightly in Man of Steel, and then it was very heavily poked at in BVS.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do not know what Superman stands for, right? It's truth, justice, and the one that nobody wants to think about anymore
The
because
American way.
is the American way, because it's a bad thing.
Right.
Because the American way is a bad
Right.
thing.
Who would think that's bad? Oh,
What?
it happened to be China. You know, like
Right, right,
they
right.
happen to be coming
They
next.
happen
They want us to
exactly.
feel like we're not good, so they can usurp us. So they fund these Hollywood movies, or they take the funding away. Remember Suicide
Mhm.
Squad? They didn't even show Suicide Squad. You
Yes,
know, remember what
exactly.
Suicide Squad is about? Secret, ancient devil or
Yeah,
spirit or something.
yeah, yep.
Right, right. That's coming to America and
Mhm,
brainwash all the people into bubbleheads, into
mhm.
regular Americans, like the Suicide
The Suicide
Squad.
Squad, right?
Will Smith and everybody else had to get together. We got to
A
chill with the
bunch of misfits.
Mexicans, right?
Yeah,
Bunch
a
of
bunch of
misfits
misfits.
to save America, and it
Yeah.
happened in. Look at their last battle was in uh, the stock exchange building, and you saw the two pillars, and
Yeah.
you saw the American flag falling down in the last battle. That they're all telling us the same story.
The same story.
Everyone is
Mhm.
telling us the same story. From Lord of the Rings, same thing. This secret, ancient magic coming over and taking over the Shire. The Shire is America, regular people, you know, and the regular people, the little midgets, had to fight back against the world's biggest force.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing right now. If people can't see it, so the as if we want to take it back, the Masons know what's going on, you know, so they kind of tell us in the movies, you know, they
Yeah.
kind of, because it is the Masons are fighting another crew, and we the people are in between it, you know. So let's the corporations, they want to work with China because of free, you know, slave labor or sweatshops or anything like that. The
Mhm.
corporations are American corporations like Walmart, Nike, blah blah blah. If they bring their jobs to America, America will blow up.
Right.
But no, they don't want to, because we have minimum wage, we have hourly wage, you know, shit like that. So they rather go to China. So fuck America, you know, let's
You
go to
know,
China.
this okay, right. And this is where I feel like this is exactly what we were seeing heavily in BVS, and I'll explain, right? I feel Superman, what he represents symbolically, and even the little story arc we got was he represents the ideal of what America is,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? The ideal America, what the idea of
Right,
America, right?
right, correct.
You can argue whether we ever really got there or not.
Hmm.
I would give space for that.
Hmm.
But if you know anything about the Constitution, if you've actually read it,
Hmm.
if you've read any of the essays and uh, 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 even within the Declaration of Independence and things of that nature, if you've actually read it, you can see the idea that these founding fathers had,
Right,
right? And we know for a fact that the foundation of these ideas come from a Judeo-Christian outlook on life,
ideology. Right, right,
ideology,
correct,
right? On
correct,
Judeo-Christian ideals and morals and principles.
correct.
Upon that were these policies built, right?
Right, correct.
Hence why when you get to Superman, when you see the movie Man of Steel, there's and this is what I mean. There's two driving forces. There's the theological, because of what the foundations, the principles are from, and then there's the political for the ideology of just America, right? And so, you know, in Man of Steel, you get the whole Moses slash Jesus story arc pertaining to Superman, right? Which I feel again is a representation of the Judeo-Christian foundations that come with the Constitution and things of that nature. When you get to BVS, this is when I feel you get into the thick of it, right? If Superman in that film represents America, you see two types of people, right? Which is what we're seeing now, right? And that's the people that have been pinned and put to go against Superman, who do not like him for whatever because of the the tainting of what he is and who he really is, right? Because when we're watching the film, we know who he really is, but then we also see the underlining of how he's projected by other forces that be,
like the media, right?
Like the media, right? Exactly. And you see this divide between people who appreciate Superman and what he's done and who he is and what he stands for, and then you have the other side that doesn't. But then when you get deeper into it, and this is to allude to what you were saying, the forces that are facing each other, I feel when we get to also what Lex Luthor represents and what Bruce Wayne represents, two powers that be, right? Two powers that be, one that is for sure motivated by one thing and one thing only, and that's the bringing down of Superman. And you see his way of going about it, right? And that's Lex Luthor, right? Bruce Wayne, on the other hand, I feel in the movie he represents a few things, but I believe he represents another the other side of power. And this is why this is the constant thing that, or not the constant, well, it's the constant question at hand, and this is what Lex says, right? And he says power cannot be innocent, right? That is very true to him. But then there's other things, as it's not in this movie, but if you understand it, you understand what it that this is the truth to that nature. And this is what I believe Zack was trying to show when it comes to Bruce Wayne, right? And that's that with power comes responsibility, right? And Bruce Wayne was losing control of that responsibility, whether it was because he was inflicted by the thought of something, and then it was, in a sense, manipulated by Luthor, right? But there's one thing that he says in the movie that I felt kind of lets you know who he represents and where he stands, right? And he says this line that George Bush said back in his presidency, right? And that's that if there's a 1% chance that this man is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty. He literally, quoted the same thing George Bush said. So I feel like it gives a sense of who he represents, right? And then to get to the end where he had to kind of, in a sense, be woke. Not woke. I hate using that word because it's really the worst word now that exists. But he became aware of the truth and realizing, like, I'm going against this Superman character and what he represents when I represent the same thing, when I want the same thing. The ideas that this man stands for and what he's fighting for is what I fight for. Somewhere along the way, I lost my way there. And I feel that's what Zack was trying to do, in the sense of, like, there was a time where people were on board with, all right, this is the American way. Even if there were individuals that weren't living up to it, this is the idea, right? Of our freedoms, of our liberties that we strive to protect, right? And then strive to fight for others to have that same liberty, that same freedom. Even if it took so many years for all of us to finally get there, whatever, but we were fighting towards that. I think even if you see the history shows that, right? That
Mm-hmm.
even if it wasn't right from the beginning, there were still the strides made throughout to, in a sense, I guess, correct course, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
tighten up the vision to be exactly what we believe or what the forefathers believe, or the founding fathers believed, right?
Right. Right.
But I feel for sure Lex represents that corporation, that secret society that is working behind the scenes to manipulate these ideas so
Mm-hmm.
that the power stays within his grasp. You know what I mean? I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
definitely.
the same thing you got from watching that movie,
Look at it
but
like you hit it on the head perfectly when you said like Masons versus Illuminati, because you could look at it like Batman is a Mason. He's a
mm-hmm,
Dark Knight. He comes from old money. Dark Knight gives it away right there because the
yep,
Masons knights. All right. So then
yes,
you can look at Lex and say Lex is the Illuminati because Lex quoted Prometheus at his little get together,
right,
and he said, Prometheus is the light bearer. He got punished for bringing light to the person. The
right,
Illuminati thinks they're bringing light to us. They're enlightening us, right? So they
right.
consider themselves the light bearers. So now you have Lex working with alien technology, um, doing, I don't know if you consider it a seance where he was calling Steppenwolf through the scout
Mm,
ship.
right,
He's doing all of that shit. Plus, he got God, so quote unquote God, Superman, to bow down to him. You
right.
know, Uh,
That's the mission to
right?
be above.
They want to be above God. They want to
Yeah,
usurp God. So what they're doing with science, like he said, you should see what my R&D department is doing, research and development
right,
department. What these guys are doing through science, they're trying to disprove God. They're trying to find the spark of creation. They're trying to find the speed of light. They're trying to do everything to see how did God make all of this stuff? And if we can do it, we can be gods. This is what Lex was doing. Now
exactly.
you have Batman on the other hand, Bruce Wayne, he let the manor come, deteriorate because he's always either drinking, sleep with strippers or on pills or something like that. He let his life get away from him.
Yes,
That, and think about Masons. If George Washington was the our first president, if he was a Mason, they've always been here. They've
hmm,
been here since day one,
yeah,
but they did let America get away from them, you know.
mm,
So now you have Superman could also be considered um the enlightenment character because one, he gets his power from the sun. The Illuminati are sun worshippers. Um, it's a lot of stuff you can go on with Superman, but Superman now has to fight Batman in that movie, BVS, and they have to realize that, damn, they're one and the same,
right,
So they come together to fight Lex Luthor. So it's
right.
kind of like, think about it the same way in the Matrix. Neo came together with the machines to fight
The
Agent
agent,
Smith. Right,
right,
correct. So there's more than two parties involved. Now that we see there's three parties and maybe could be more parties involved. But Agent Smith was the virus. He was strong. He was just as strong as, let's say black people and white people have been fighting each other. You could look at black people like Morpheus and them versus the agents, and then there's another crew, Agent Smith, that's behind the background messing it up even more, or
right,
Batman and Superman was fighting each other, but behind the background, Lex is messing it up even more. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So this is what we got to come to grips with. So now when we look at it, the two major in our real life, the two major people that's fighting is the Catholics and the Protestants. The Catholic Church and the people who protest the Catholic Church. And the protest could be in any form. It could be in Black Panther form. It could be in anything, whoever you protest. So that's how they get you. And that was shown in BVS too, because when Superman was at the um, Congress steps and the Congress blew up. They had all the people out there with picket signs. They were arguing. That's the same way as America rioting all the time, arguing
Yeah,
all the time. We can't get
exactly.
on point. We can't because there's somebody, Lex Luthor Corporation, LexCorp, that's remember in the warehouse scene, Batman when he beat up all those people were Chinese. All if you go back and slow it down right now, every single one of them were Asian. I couldn't say
Right,
Chinese, but they are all dark hair,
right,
Asian looking. So, but what is it saying? It's there's a corporation inside of America, and the corporations are doing more damage than the Masons probably have ever done. The
right,
corporations are so the people versus the Masons should probably be the people looking at the corporation instead of versing anybody. It should be no white versus black. It should be none of that divide and conquer shit. It should be who's leeching off this, who's leeching off us from the background, and it's the corporations. It's LexCorp. So that's what Zack showed perfectly. So that's why they get mad at Zack because he shows stuff like that
right,
perfectly. He
right,
doesn't leave any room for interpretation. He's like, yo, Lex been doing this shit, or Ozymandias been doing this shit, and here's all of their information from their whole history. He
right.
shows it like that. So the corporations probably get mad at him, and they want a more Disney version of the corporations. In Disney is Iron Man. He has a corporation, and he's just like a jokey character, and everybody over there Marvel are jokey characters. So you never
Right,
really look at it like, damn, he could be talking about Nike or Target or Walmart or anything
right.
like that because
No,
they
yeah,
make too much jokes. You're just
yeah,
looking at it and you're entertained. You don't really put this like, damn, this could be my life. But
exactly.
when you put it like Zach shows you, you see how it could be your life. And I think that's why they get mad at him, because
Yeah,
he makes it too easy to see.
yeah. No, man, that's why I thought to myself, like, man, this has to be the actual reason, because if anybody knows anything, if anybody really knows anything about Hollywood, that China or Chinese corporations
Right,
own more than half of the
right.
studios in Hollywood,
Correct. Correct. They own majority shares of everybody.
of everybody.
Right.
That should be a big problem for people. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Right.
How can
So
this,
what
how,
that is like, that's like the bully. Let's say you got somebody bullying you on your block every day. That's China trying to get the number one spot. So China's hitting hard. Plus, they own all of our propaganda media. So everything we see is going to be backwards. It's going to be tainted, or it's going to be fucked up. So the watcher is fucked up. So
right,
they want the Disney Marvel way of thinking because it's just McDonald's jokes and it's crappy media. It doesn't elevate us at all. You
right.
know?
It doesn't elevate your way of thinking. It doesn't
Right.
inform you in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Um, and that I feel that, to me, I felt was what set DC, starting with, like you mentioned. I'm glad you brought him up, because I feel for sure that's where it started with Nolan, right? The Nolan
Right.
trilogy.
Right.
There were some really deep, profound things happening in those movies, under the surface of just superhero storytelling.
Right. Correct.
And I feel like when he passed the torch to Zack, there was a reason for that,
Right.
And Zack did the same exact thing. When you watch
Correct.
Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, even when you get into Zack Snyder's Justice League, again, same thing is under the surface of a comic book, movie, or storytelling of superheroes. There are messages, information being given.
Correct. Correct.
Now, I feel like when you get to Zack Snyder's Justice League, I feel like that's the idea, in the sense of, if we can get there where everybody and this is what I felt like Suicide Squad did this too, right? You mentioned a little bit earlier, where it's a group of misfits, everybody in their own element, they had to come together
Mm-hmm.
to oppose this foreign
Mm-hmm.
entity.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at the Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, same concept. It's a
Right.
bunch of different heroes with different scenarios, different things that make them who they are, but they have to come together to face this foreign entity.
Correct.
But as you mentioned, I think we have to understand also the significant, and I think this is what Zack was trying to say, because again, we talk about who Bruce Wayne and what he represents, and if he does represent this society of the Masons, which very much, honestly, if anybody was like really look at what this character is about, like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
for sure he has power, right? He has money,
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but he is a builder.
Mm-hmm.
He is a builder.
Right.
He
Right.
builds technology.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like he builds things, right?
Correct.
So it came down to him to come to everyone else and say, hey, we got to come together, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like
Right.
it took
Right.
for him to make this move. And I feel like it's almost like, in a sense, a mirror image to what Zack is trying to do, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to wake people up.
Right.
We
Correct.
really got to come together because there are foreign entities that be, and there are secret societies that be, that are working hand in hand to the downfall of America,
Right.
to the
Correct.
downfall of what we did see in BVS. And I think this is even what he was alluding to, where Superman dies
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
BVS.
Yeah. America falls.
America falls.
Yeah.
But and I think if there's what's interesting about that is that when you hear certain people talk right now, like depending, I guess, well, one for sure for me, I always tell people, like, look, if you're trying to get the full story of anything, make sure you have more than one source, right?
Right. Correct.
But there are certain sources that I watch that they're all kind of saying something similar, and that's that it might take the fall of the Republic for people to wake up and say, yo, what happened?
Right. Right.
Where are my civil liberties? What happened to the
Right.
freedom I had, right? It's
Correct.
it might have to take the fall rather than catching it on time.
Right. No, definitely. Because
Um,
I mean, like, look in our life, we were born when the Berlin Wall fell down. We were born when the Soviet Union collapsed. Like,
right.
this is not like it could happen to us. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
now it
Yeah.
could very well happen to us. Now you have states saying they want to succeed from the union because there's, mandatory vaccination and all the stuff like that. But if that happens, if we break up, we fail. That's what happened in Russia. That's what happened in the Soviet Union. But that's not to say, I mean, Putin is still like the richest dude in the world. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're still living over there. It wasn't like a nuclear war or anything. They
No. Yeah.
just broke up.
Yep.
The Berlin Wall broke, so Eastern and Western Germany could come. Shit changes. America, it looks like we're in one of those changes, but I think if we want to maybe soften the blow, we could kind of look and see who's doing it to us. And it's
Exactly.
bigger than our politicians. It's our corporations. The corporations are doing it to us. And they're doing it because the leaders of these corporations are not American. Even if they're selling all the Nikes to us or something like that, or whatever, they have some foreign guy that runs the shit. It's some.
Yeah.
They don't care about Christianity. They don't
Yeah.
care about. We like football and apple pie over here. They don't give a shit.
Right.
They're looking at the bottom line, and if the bottom line says, we like to make Jordans where people get paid $2 an hour. They're going to make Jordans. We can't do nothing about it. We can't say, hey, man, bring them back to America. We want those jobs. They don't give a shit. So
Right.
we need to worry more about there's a divide in here with black and white people or Mexican people or
Yep.
whatever. We need to stop that and look at who's really fucking with us. And it's Lex Luthor and the corporations. It's
Right.
simple as that, because like even in the Watchmen movie, when Ozymandias was telling about his life, he was an American corporation. He was out of New York, but he's telling his life about some old German shit or something. He knows something that he's looking at, like Alexander the Great or something like that. These aren't Americans, but you're in America, you're making money in America, but you don't have an American ideology. And that's what we're facing.
So, man, I'm glad you actually said that, because there was something else that came to my mind too as I was watching Man of Steel, right? And that's and I think we even alluded to some of this conversation in in the Watchmen, whatever. In our secret society.
Damn right.
Damn right. And but there was something that I also felt I caught wind of while I was watching Man of Steel, right? And again, this is what keeps having me believe that Superman represents the idea of America, right? He's not necessarily representing America, but he is in a sense, right? He is really, because it is the idea of what America stands for, to why we are who we are, right?
Right, correct.
And that's why I feel, again, that's why it was important for Zack to show the even the Moses / Christ like symbolisms and similarities, right? Because it's to cement the idea that the Judeo-Christian laws or ideals are what shaped America, which is actually very important. It is very important, because if you do not understand, the Judeo-Christian ideals, or even just the faith of it all, right, from the Torah to the Bible, you would lack understanding as to what even the American Constitution is pushing, right? So you this is why, for me, it's like it's silly for someone to study politics but not study the faiths that gave birth to this politics.
Right, correct. Definitely. Their ideologies.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyways, going back to Man of Steel, this is what and again, I've never saw, this never came to me before until I started watching it again. And well, I've been doing these marathons, but recently I watched it again, and this is what I got. I felt like Krypton, right, represented England, right? They represent the superpower that actually gave birth to America, right? The ideas of America, because and this is what we have to understand, because you even said this too, right? Where the Masons were from the beginning, right? And we know that if you know anything about the Masons, they go way back, right? So you have to. I feel like there's always going to be a group of people that know when the governments and the powers that be are taking advantage of the people, right? And if you follow the faith and understand the liberty given to you by God, then you would know when enough is enough, right? And when is it time to break away and find a way, whatever. So, but anyways, going back to Man of Steel, yo, what's good, Prime? What it do? Up in the chat, appreciate you jumping in, man. But so Krypton represented England or Britain, or Great Britain, right? The Redcoats. Which is think about this, because even
Lex
alludes
the Red
to
Capes
it.
are coming.
The Red Capes are coming, talking about Kryptonians. This is what they represent. Superman being Kryptonian, he's an off branch, but his father, mostly his Kryptonian father, implemented a set of ideas that were different from where Krypton ended up going, right? If you know anything about the history of England, you can see where they went south as well, right? Like there's the birth of what should have been right within European or England, and their reign, right? And even follow me here to why I feel they even represent that. They had colonies on different planets
You're right. You're right.
The stars, they went into they went to the sea,
Right.
the Royal Navy,
Right.
right?
Right.
And started colonizing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And their colonizations started breaking down.
Colonies, definitely.
Okay.
America is one of the colonies that
And
left them.
America was one of the colonies, which they had here. The
Mm-hmm.
scout ship that Superman finds, right? But again, Superman technically is a Kryptonian, but he is not.
Mm.
Right? It was like we sent you there, right? It's about the conversation that Jor-El's having with Kal-El, and that's that we wanted you to be a bridge between two peoples. You know, we wanted you to be the one to choose.
Mm.
When you look at even America and the history, is like we chose to separate ourselves from that monarchy that we knew was actually stepping on the civil liberties given to us by God. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's even the idea of how our government is built. It's based upon that reality, that idea that we should not be ruled by kings, you know, and that the people should vote for who is going to be in office. It was an idea of realizing Israel's mistake,
Mm.
Israel's mistake in wanting a king to rule over them like the rest of the world,
Mm.
rather than being content with with God being their king. You
Mm.
know, that was the mistake of Israel, and that was their downfall. Um, and hence why we have no king here. You know, this is
Mm-hmm.
why we have no king here. We have presidents, governors, and things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature. When you look at even Israel, before they had a king, they had judges that ruled over their tribes, right? Or
Mm.
not ruled, but governed,
Mm-hmm.
right? They governed over their tribes according to the ideologies of their faith, or you know what they knew to be true to the relationship with God and whatever, right? So it's almost a similar mirror image. Just instead of judges, we have governors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then we break it down even down to the mayors and whatever, you know. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
but
No, that's dope that you said that. I'm gonna say
yeah,
this real quick, and I gotta run. But
yeah, for sure.
you hit it on the head again when you said England. Now, I never really even thought about it like that. I do remember him saying that red capes are coming, and that's dope because you know who's funding China is England right now. So we left them. They're getting us back by funding China.
Yes,
Just like
yeah,
in the Dark Knight series when Joker pointed to the Chinese man.
mm-hmm.
He had all of the underground crew. He had the Italians, he had the Russians, he had the blacks, he had everyone, and the Chinese man took the money. You know, they were all working together. You know, but
Mm-hmm.
Joker, he said, "Yo, I know a snitch when I see one." You know, but he's pointing out the problem
Right,
in our real life. You
right,
know, so we look at it now, and what you said is so profound because we did leave England. You know, and um they're now getting us back through China. You know,
yeah,
because they
yeah,
funded Hong Kong. It was them who did it. And now this super capitalism that's taken over America is coming from China. And
yeah.
it's coming from the English who funded the Rothschild banks funded Hong Kong to do this shit to us, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, I know you got to go. I will say just to add my 2 cents to that right quick is that I feel back in the day when we won that war, and you know, finally, you know, they said, okay, you know, you guys stood your ground. We're leaving you alone. I truly believe they never left us alone.
I agree.
You know, I feel
100%.
like they stayed to implement partisan to why we could, you know, why it took so long for certain things to even happen. Why, you
Right.
know, But I know
Right.
you gotta go, so let's not, you know, let's
We
not
got
get.
part two,
We
dog. We
got
got
part two
another.
though. So
Right,
like, if
right.
anybody saw, you know, this was part one. This is part one.
Right. We got
You know,
part two, baby.
we still got part two. So, man, P, thank you for hopping on.
No problem, dog.
I hope everyone who was watching and anybody who watches this later that you become, you know, that you grow in your information, and maybe this encourages you to go back and watch these films and piece it together the same way we are. and become involved with what's happening, because it's real.
It's
It's
real
real,
out there, bro. It's
you know.
definitely real. So
So
yeah, man. Yo, when this gets uploaded and everything, send me the link, and I'm trying to push it out.
for sure.
I appreciate you calling me, man, and having this talk. I didn't know we were going to talk about no Mason shit. I didn't know what we were going to talk about, and I was just like, all right, dog, whatever. But it is what it is, dog. This was a great conversation, and I think, like I say, like you see me say in the chat room, man, we need to talk about this shit more, because if it goes over our head, it's going to affect us when they lock our country down and talk about mandatory this and this, that, and other. All of this stuff is passing us by. We're missing it.
Yeah,
And we're only seeing the ending results. And if we don't like the ending results, we gotta
exactly.
check the ingredients. You know what I mean?
Hey, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
All
I
right,
mean,
homie.
man, everyone, go check
Yeah.
out Go Deep. I mean, trust me when I say there's a lot of content and information there that not to say that I'm funding Illuminati, but it illuminates you. It illuminates you on certain things that are happening and things that have happened. It's very insightful, and if you want to just grow in information, go check out his channel. It's Mr. West Ashley on YouTube. Go Deep, and you can find me here. I don't get live. I don't go live as much as I want to, working on, but you'll find me here. We're either going to be talking this, political, theological, philosophical things that are happening that we have to be aware of, or if you catch me on Sundays, you'll see me preaching the good word. But with that being said, appreciate everyone who hopped on. Appreciate everyone who's going to watch this later. Catch us on the part 2. See y'all later. Peace out. P, thanks again, bro.
No problem, dog. Peace.